Bringing in PSA Acting Deputy General Manager for Member Affairs, Claude Naiker, who joins us for more. Claude, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. All indications are that government's offer is set to be rejected by most public servants. As the Public Servants Association, you represent more than 245,000 public servants. What's your sentiment amongst the men? What is the sentiment amongst the members?
A very good evening to you. Yeah. We have a break in talks at the moment. As you quite rightly pointed out, unions are currently canvassing the members on the wage offer that's currently on the table, which is a 4.7% for the 25-26 financial year, and a salary linked to inflation for the further 2 years down the line itself. We've started our mandating process like other unions have done so. We've closed our mandating process this afternoon. Signs have indicated that majority, or in fact most of our members, have actually rejected the 4.7% that's currently on the table. You must remember that we have revised our offer considerably from the 12% that we set out right down to 7.5%. Government is still at 4.7%. Hopefully we can find each other when talks resume towards the end of the month. We're looking at closer to the 7.5%. If we get in the region of close, say 6%, or just a little bit more than that, is something that we can take back to our members and canvass and ask them whether it's acceptable or not. But at this stage, the 4.7% is really not realistic, and it's not something that our members are currently have an appetite to consider. We've just heard recently that employees in the parliamentary services have got an 100% increase. We welcome that. It's a great initiative. But the larger public sector, we hope that the employer can come to the party and offer more than tangible increase than 4.7% that's currently on the table.
Yeah, I believe the next step is for unions now to go back to the bargaining council for further engagements. How are you advancing these negotiations as you try and get closer to what you initially are hoping for?
Well, look, we've made a number of demands when we've set out, and a number of them have been abandoned to a secondary process, saying that we will go to council with those issues at a later stage. But currently what is on the table with the 4.7%, like you put on there is some movement on the housing allowance, minor steps. There is some movement on the danger allowance, which we also welcome. So there is progress there. I think the biggest hurdle or the stumbling block now is actually the percentage increase on the COLA. And if we can get closer to, like I said, to the 7.5%, I think we can strike a deal or something that we can take back to our members and say, listen, this is what on our table, and look to the outer years, which is the other 2 years, which is a part of a multi-term agreement where it's inflation ring. Also, there's a proviso with the other 2 years saying that if the inflation drops below 4%, we'll cap the increase at 4%. If it goes higher than 6%, we'll cap the increase at 6%. So that's something that we can live with, something that our members can reasonably understand. But currently, with the cost of living and all other issues that are currently increasing at such a rapid rate, I think 4.7% is really not going to cut it. And I think we're going to have a long battle ahead. We're optimistic, but I think it's going to take a lot of negotiations for us to get closer to each other.
Yeah, but you will get something, because judging from the numbers in Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's mini budget from last month, it's guaranteed that public servants will receive pay increases come the 1st of April 2025. Of course, what remains unclear is the extent of these increases. How much of a difference will it mean for members to receive closer to 7.5%?
Look, when we set out, as I indicated, it was an informed decision. You must remember 2 years in a row, public servants did not get a salary increase. What they got was a cash allowance. And that is why we came up to the figure of 12%, and then we revised it obviously to 7.5%. I think what the minister has done was very noble. Previously, ministers had negotiated in the media, or they announced the percentage of the budget for salary increases and then left it onto unions to scrap it out in the bargaining chamber as to who gets what. I think the minister has done a very noble thing this time. He did not pronounce on exactly the percentage. He indicated to the public to say there is a forum in which public sector unions are bargaining, and that was the right thing to do. And this is what we are currently doing. Negotiation is all about give and take, and hopefully we can get the best deal for our members. But we're optimistic, as I said. It's going to be a battle, but we're optimistic that the employer can come to the party and offer something more than 4.7% that we can take to our members.
It's pretty clear that the balancing act remains difficult. I mean, we know that over the past 5 years, the Treasury has been attempting to stabilize or even reduce the remuneration costs for public servants with some great difficulty. What challenges are public servants enduring as you advance these calls and really try and get closer to that figure? I know you've mentioned inflation as a balance in terms of trying to get close and trying to see if it makes sense, but the reality on the ground for workers.
Look, I think, beside the salary increase, it's just the quality of working life for our members itself. From the last 5 to 6 years, we found that the public sector has not increased the quota of public servants. As the years progress, the number of public servants that are employed gets fewer and fewer. What happens then? We have the existing staff that are immense pressure to try and actually fill the gaps. And you find that a lot of them are not only physically, but mentally exhausted. That is the one factor. Inflation, yes, is the biggest riding factor, but there's other issues. The rising cost of food, the rising cost of electricity, transport. On a day-to-day basis, we get these things are increasing, and it's causing a major problem, not for the country at all, but public sector workers, because a lot of them have to take transport to work. They use public transport. They need to increase the fares. Ultimately, public servants then have to bear the brunt of obviously these increased fares that they have to get to work to. So this causes the major problem for us itself. And if you look at over the last couple of years, there's always been a stigma to say that public servants are overpaid or the wage bill is such a rate that it's alarming. But if you really sit down and look at the increases that public servants has got for the last few years, it's also a worrying concern. They were not real wage increases. 1 year we did not get a salary increase. The other 2 years we did not get a pensionable salary increase. We got what is called a cash allowance. We had to make do with that. And that's why we're not immune to what is happening out there in the economy. We're very sensitive to that. We realize there's fiscal constraints. The economy is suffering. So we haven't gone over the top. We're asking for a realistic increase that public servants can actually take home on a monthly basis.
Have you set any deadlines? I mean, you have admitted that these talks will be difficult. What sort of time frame are you working within?
We have a major wage protocol in the public sector or the bargaining chamber to say that we should have concluded wage negotiations by the end of November. We're actually running behind. That was nothing surprising. We realized that it's going to take a little longer, but we're hoping that we can strike a deal in this year so that everybody is settled and we can concentrate on other issues that come April next year, the 1st of April, public servants can budget and know exactly what they are getting in the pay slip come on the 15th of April. And we're hopeful that we can conclude the wage negotiation before the year ends.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us. All the best there. Speaking to the Public Servants Association's Acting Deputy General Manager for Members Affairs, Claude Naiker.